hours of November 13th, 2022, best friends were returning home from a bar in the college town of Moscow, Idaho. On their homeward stroll, they stopped by a food truck to buy an after-midnight snack. The truck's owners were live streaming on Twitch and captured video and audio of the night's activities. The night was both a celebration and a goodbye of sorts, as Kaylee was graduating early and heading to Austin, Texas to accept a job offer. She had recently moved out of 1122 King Road, some of the student housing near the University of Idaho. She planned to stay the night with her bestie and their roommates after an evening out. It would be one of the girls' last nights together. Maddie and Kaylee had been inseparable since they met as young girls, bonded like sisters for life. Just a couple hours after this recording, the young ladies would be horrifically slain as they slept on the third floor of this home. They would die as they lived, there for each other, until the very end. On the floor below, Xana Kernodle was in bed with her boyfriend, Ethan Chapin. They had gone out earlier as well, but had returned to the home before 3 a.m. Ethan didn't live in the house, but was staying the night with Xana. In just under 1 hour after returning to the King Road residence, young love would give way to a fight for their very survival. Their brutal battle would be lost, however, and before sunrise, 4 students were gone forever. There were 2 more college women in the house that morning, and one of them would see a tall, masked figure with bushy eyebrows rush past her and out the door. Perhaps frozen in fear or otherwise incapacitated, about 8 more hours would pass before authorities were alerted to the bloodbath. It was the town's first homicide in 7 years, and many people felt so safe living there that they never locked their doors. The crime scene was by far the worst that first responders and detectives had ever seen. But they later discovered the killer left behind the evidence needed to track him down. Was he just sloppy? Or was one of the girls' final act to extract a sample of his DNA? The shocking quadruple homicide would set the true crime world ablaze, breeding some tinfoil hat-wearing conspiracy theories and false accusations.
A University of Idaho professor is suing a so-called internet sleuth for defamation after the TikTok personality posted a series of videos accusing, without any credible evidence, that the professor was somehow tied to the November murders of 4 college students. According to the lawsuit, TikToker Ashley Gillard posted 6 videos claiming Professor Rebecca Schofield was responsible for the 4 students' deaths. This, the most high-profile example of online speculation that has been denounced by authorities who have urged the public to avoid sharing misinformation or rumors about the case.
Meanwhile, the actual alleged perpetrator was able to spend Christmas with his family. But knowing that he left something of his at the crime scene, could he really have enjoyed himself? Tonight's tale is about Washington and Moscow, but there's no international intrigue here. Instead, there's a probable psychopath and Instagram stalker running amok in a quaint college town. It was the kind of place parents would rest easy about, knowing their child was safe. That peace of mind would be shattered overnight, because this is absolutely criminal. This picture was taken on Saturday, November 12, 2022. It shows 6 close friends enjoying college life at the University of Idaho. The grinning undergrads were unaware of an unfair fate that lay ahead. Just hours after this photo was posted on social media, 4 of them would lose their lives. For now, however, in just this moment, it appeared that there was nowhere else the friends would rather be. They attended college together, worked hard in class, and occasionally liked to party hard as well. The following body cam footage is from a few visits police made to the residence in the months before, responding to complaints of loud music.
Hello, miss.
Hello.
What's your name?
Xana.
Xana, do you live here?
Yes.
Okay, did Megan talk to you earlier?
No.
Okay, does Megan live here?
Megan. I do not have a Megan that lives
Megan Mogen?
Maddie Mogen, yes.
Madison Mogen, yeah.
Madison Mogen? Okay, she does live here?
Sorry, she is at the club. She's 21. I'm just going to bed.
We imagine that's not too uncommon in college towns like Moscow, and it didn't seem that any prior police visits to the house were all that serious. Before we get into the traumatic events of November 13th, we'd like you to meet Maddie, Kaylee, Xana, and Ethan. Their stories will never be completed, forever remaining unfinished works of art in the memories of family and friends. Madison Mogen, usually called Maddie by friends, was a 21-year-old senior at U of I. She was a marketing major and well known for her offbeat sense of humor. She ran a social media campaign for the Mad Greek restaurant at which she worked and planned to move to Boise after graduation. Her father, Ben Mogen, summed it up nicely at her December memorial service in 6 words. She was the world to us. Here's more about that bright student who had just begun to shine.
If I had 1 or 2 words to describe Maddie May, it would be just an angel, and that she just made me proud.
Ben Mogen speaking about his daughter Madison to ABC News and describing the moment law enforcement told him they'd made an arrest in the case.
And he said, "Ben, this is the day that we've been waiting for." I broke down, and I just cried. I could only take so much of that.
When Maddie was in 6th grade, she met Kaylee Goncalves, and they were fast friends. Over the next decade, Kaylee's family said they'd rarely see one without the other. She had graduated early, and she was poised to begin her new life adventures in Austin, Texas. She already had a job lined up working in information technology. Even though the 21-year-old had recently moved out of the King Road residence, she was back for one night to attend a nearby party. She also wanted to show off her just-purchased 2016 Range Rover to her best friend, Maddie. She was the middle child of 5 siblings, leaving a hole in the family they say will never be filled.
I miss what she meant to the family.
And she meant the world, the planner, the one who pushed the envelope. 21-year-old Kaylee Goncalves leaves a big void in her big family.
Holidays, she was the one who wanted to do the gingerbread houses and push it, but she knew to make memories, you got to do those type of things. So we'll miss that gift that she brought to us every single day, and she was a little ornery too, so we'll miss that as well.
Xana Kernodle was 20 years old and originally lived in Avondale, Arizona. She was a multi-sport athlete in high school and was excited to attend the University of Idaho. In December 2022, her family started a scholarship fund in her name, saying they hoped to keep her memory and legacy alive. Her sister Jasmine said losing Xana is the hardest experience she'll ever face.
She was so positive and lighthearted and understood the gift of life more than anyone I know. I remember her getting so mad at me for caring about the little things that didn't matter. She would always tell me she wouldn't know what to do without me, and now I have to live this life without her.
And she taught me a lot of stuff. She taught me how to be a dad, and I didn't know that until she was gone, you know?
Xana, you will not be forgotten. You have impacted so many lives and have given people so much love. I hope I can make you proud and try to leave an impact on this world and on people like you did.
Xana Kernodle was dating Ethan Chapin, who slept over at the residence on that fateful night. Ethan was a triplet with a brother and sister. Both of his siblings attended the University of Idaho with him, and his brother joined the same fraternity. One of his summer jobs was working in tulip fields, and his friends there developed a white and yellow tulip to honor his life. They called it Ethan's Smile. One of his former co-workers, the aptly named Reese Gardner, said that Ethan made everyone's lives a little bit better.
He was one of the few people that was just, there's nothing bad about him. He was just 100% pure, he was honest, just a great person.
The two worked the Valley's tulip fields together, forming a tight bond, making Ethan's murder so difficult to comprehend.
It still is, yeah, you know, especially something like that could happen. It's an unbelievable thing that someone could do that.
Tulips are iconic across the Skagit Valley, a reminder that even on a frosty November morning, warmer days are ahead, filled with beauty.
Like his girlfriend Xana, he was only 20 years old. The city of Moscow is located in the Idaho Panhandle. It is close to the border of Washington and has a population of about 25,000, according to the 2020 census. Located within Moscow, the University of Idaho first opened its doors in 1892. Its campus spans over 1,500 acres and presently educates about 12,000 students, 6 of which lived in the house on King Road. On November 13, 2022, the part-time party pad was transformed into a slaughterhouse. Officers arrived on the scene that morning to discover 4 bodies amidst crimson streaks of cast-off blood spatter. In the hours and days after the murders, city residents were upset and uneasy about the lack of information coming from Moscow police. They were, of course, keeping details of the crime close to their vests. Law enforcement were tight-lipped, as one might expect, to protect the integrity of the investigation. At the first press conference 3 days after the murder, the people of Moscow wanted to know if there was a madman on the lam. Here's Moscow Police Chief James Fry.
Investigators are working to follow up on all leads and to identify a person of interest. Based on details at the scene, we believe this was an isolated, targeted attack on our victims. We do not have a suspect at this time, and that individual is still out there. We cannot say that there's no threat to the community, and as we have stated, please stay vigilant, report any suspicious activity, and be aware of your surroundings at all times.
The FBI then stepped in to help the smaller police department. Although undoubtedly diligent, most officers there had never seen anything like this, not even close. That's what the county coroner would also say days later, only managing one word to sum up the scene: gruesome. As we discussed in the show's opener, the killer left something very important behind. It is not known how, but during his struggle with Kaylee and Maddie, he lost his knife sheath. It was found on their bloody bed and appeared to be a sheath for a K-bar 7-inch utility knife. Like other evidence at the scene, the sheath was processed for DNA. When they ran it through a national DNA database, however, there was no match. But through forensic genealogy, authorities were able to identify the family tree of the perpetrator. Before those results were even back, police had another big clue to work with. After scouring the surrounding neighborhoods for any kind of surveillance video, detectives noticed a white Hyundai Elantra circling the neighborhood as a shark does its prey.
Also news tonight in the investigation into the murder of 4 students at the University of Idaho. Authorities are asking the public to study this image tonight. Look at this. Officials reviewing a grainy surveillance image of a car captured on a gas station camera not far from the scene and around the time of the murders.
They would learn that the vehicle made several passes of the house in the days and weeks leading up to the crime, about a dozen times total. Police asked for the public's help in identifying the mysterious white car.
There's been a lot of questions about the white car that we've been interested in. We're looking for that car because we believe through our investigation that that car was in the area during the time of the murders, and we also believe that the occupant or occupants may have seen something. They may not know they have seen something. So we specifically want to talk to them, and we want to know who they are and what they might know or might be able to contribute to the investigation.
It may not have been enough on its own, but coupled with the DNA, it seemed to be very damning indeed. We now have a fairly detailed timeline of that morning and the hours just before midnight. Xana Kernodle was at her boyfriend Ethan's fraternity for a party. The college couple returned to the King Road abode at about 1:45 a.m. on November 13th. About the same time, Kaylee Goncalves and her best friend Maddie were seen ordering from the food truck. By 1:56, all 6 roommates were at home. According to their statements, everyone had retired to their bedrooms, but not all were asleep. Kaylee and Maddie were in a 3rd-floor bed together, and Xana and Ethan were on the floor below. The 2 surviving girls were each in their own bedroom. Although their names and faces are public, we will refer to them as they were in the affidavit, by their initials, BF and DM. They're getting a lot of blowback because of their 8-hour delay in reporting the crime. Regardless of the reason it took so long to alert the police, we feel like they've been through enough. Until we have more facts, there's no reason to believe either young lady did anything nefarious that morning. Living through that violent night earns them unlimited leeway in our judgment. At around 4 a.m., the suspect is believed to have entered the home through a ground-level sliding glass door leading to the kitchen. At almost exactly the same moment, DoorDash left a food delivery at the house for Xana Kernodle. The killer then passed by DM's bedroom undetected and headed upstairs to the 3rd floor where he would commence his monstrous attack. Kaylee's dog was sleeping in her bedroom and was awakened, likely when the suspect checked the room for someone to kill. He would move on to Madison's room, and that's where he would find Kaylee, asleep in bed next to her longtime companion. How the next few minutes transpired we can only shudder to comprehend, but after the frenzy had faded, the two girls were dead. Sometime during the chaos, the killer carelessly lost his knife sheath. DM said she heard the dog barking and went to the door to listen. She heard Kaylee say something like, "There's someone here." After peeking out her door and seeing nothing unusual, she paused there a moment before getting back in bed. Meanwhile, the insatiable psycho made his way back down to the 2nd floor towards Xana Kernodle's bedroom, where she lay next to Ethan Chapin. Her phone's forensic download indicates she was awake and using TikTok as late as 4:12 a.m. Was this when the killer surprised her? Some of the victims were said to have defensive wounds, so it's possible one or both of them were awake when the attacker pounced. He sentenced them to the same fate as their upstairs companions, and they both bled out. DM walked to her door a second time and saw a masked, bushy-eyebrowed figure walk past her. Into the kitchen and out the door he'd come in less than 20 minutes earlier. She confessed that she froze in fear, and then again closed her bedroom door. DM and BF remained in their rooms for the next 8 hours, when one of them called 911 to report an unconscious person.
Why did the surviving roommates wait almost 8 hours after the murders to call 911?
Well, people do different things under stress. And while it's detailed in the affidavit that she saw these things, we don't know that he saw anything. He's moving around in the dark. He's got this mask over his nose and his mouth. He's already done what he's going to do, or he's on his way to do it. He's already focused on where he's headed.
The abominable events happened within a very short window of time, from 4 a.m. to 4:25. How did this student slayer move so quickly and efficiently throughout the house? It almost seemed as if he could have been familiar with the home's layout. But how would that be? In our opinion, in just one of two ways. First, we know many Moscow residents felt safe enough to leave their doors unlocked. So maybe he just waltzed in one day while everyone was in class and had a look around. Secondly, it's not out of the realm of possibility he blended in at one of the many parties at the 3-story home in the past few months. The last one was reportedly on Friday night into the morning of Saturday the 12th and was attended by some 150 people. The problem with this theory is that if this man, Bryan Kohberger, carried out the senselessness like cops think, isn't it likely someone would have remembered that stare? Those dark eyes with nothing behind their lenses? But you'll need a few moments to prepare for meeting Bryan. So you tell us, do you think the off-campus killer had been inside the house before? Let us know in the comments below. If you're new here or have just been lurking for a while, please consider subscribing, and if you're enjoying yourself, we'd appreciate a thumbs up to help YouTube notice us. Why not soothe your disappointment about Sarah Boone's delayed trial with some Boone's Farm wine sipped from the rim of this not intentional, absolutely criminal mug? But please, have a friend hide your cell phone from you first. Trust us. Bryan Kohberger is 28 and was born in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania. His parents worked for the Pleasant Valley School District, his father Michael as a maintenance worker, and his mother Mary Ann as a substitute teacher. In high school, Bryan was slightly overweight and bullied about it, especially by the opposite sex. One former classmate said the popular girls would antagonize the teen, who apparently once described himself as an organic sack of meat with no self-worth. It wouldn't be until the end of 2022 that the rest of the world would largely agree with that assessment. It's through Kohberger's creepy social media posts that we get a better idea of what was happening to his mind. According to the New York Times, BK made 118 posts over 3 years on an online forum devoted to a vision impairment you've probably never heard of. It's called visual snow, which causes a person's field of vision to fill with static, much like the black and white dancing dots on an old TV set with no signal. WebMD describes the disorder as a continuous visual disturbance that can entirely obscure vision. It's an exceedingly rare condition, and so research on it is very sparse. People with the condition also usually report decreased depth perception and reduced contrast in their visual field. It often comes with headaches, irritability, and difficulty in concentration. The causes of the enigmatic affliction are almost completely unknown at the present time, but experts have identified a few. Concussions and other head trauma, along with chronic drug abuse, are thought to contribute to the condition. In a January 2011 post, Kohberger allegedly claimed, "I have had visual snow since September 21st of 2009. Since then I have changed, mainly from anxiety and sense of derealization and hopelessness. It is unknown whether or not something shocking occurred on that very specific date to cause the condition." By April 2011, he appeared to have made some peace with the raging eyeball blizzard. He wrote, "I have become very deep and determined on goals. It made me smarter." Just 1 month later, this post from the same forum, "When I get home, I am mean to my family. This started when VS did. I felt no emotion, and along with the depersonalization, I can say and do whatever I want with little remorse." He sounds like a real joy to be around. By July of that year, his deteriorating condition was evidenced by this post. "As I hug my family, I look into their faces. I see nothing. It is like I am looking at a video game, but less." But by February of 2012, his tone had changed to one of acceptance, writing, "I have just accepted my visual snow finally. It doesn't scare me anymore. Anyone else come to terms? I feel like coming to terms could be a bad thing, though." One wonders if he had any sense of how prescient that post would become a decade later. Bryan attended Pleasant Valley High School, and in his yearbook expressed a desire to one day serve in the Army Rangers. He never did join the Army, but he showed a clear interest in law enforcement. After high school, he studied psychology and criminal justice at DeSales University in Pennsylvania. He then moved on to the PhD program at Washington State University, just about 8 miles from Moscow. During his studies, Bryan posted a Reddit survey asking people to give details on how emotions and psychological traits influence decision-making when committing a crime. If authorities have the right man, it would appear Kohberger needed more than to live vicariously through the evil deeds of others. He would just have to try it out for himself. Although the motive remains unclear, according to one former FBI agent, he will eventually spill his guts. Ex-agent Jennifer Coffindaffer says the final nail in Bryan's coffin will be his massive ego.
A lot of people who are extremely book smart and make amazing grades and find their way to be great writers and studiers don't have common sense. And I think we're seeing that case here. His common sense went out the window in this case, driving his own car, bringing his phone, then turning it off during the crime, then turning it back on. I believe the sheath was not purposefully left, but rather in the frenzy of everything going on, fell off his belt. It was just really a comedy of error after error.
On November 13th, one of the surviving roommates placed a 911 call at 11:58 a.m. When first responders arrived, they discovered the perverted horror show inside the house. 4 days after the bloody massacre, autopsies were completed on the 4 victims. All had been stabbed multiple times, and some had defensive wounds. According to the medical examiner, none of the 4 were sexually assaulted. It was on November 29th when the Moscow police alerted other agencies to look out for a white Hyundai Elantra. The same day, a police officer at Washington State University came across the make and model, owned by one Bryan Christopher Kohberger. 3 weeks after the slayings on December 7th, 2022, Moscow police went public with their plea for any information about that white Elantra seen in the area on and around King Road during the key time frame.
There's been a lot of questions about the white car that we've been interested in. We're looking for that car because we believe through our investigation that that car was in the area during the time of the murders, and we also believe that the occupant or occupants may have seen something. They may not know they have seen something. So we specifically want to talk to them, and we want to know who they are and what they might know or might be able to contribute to the investigation.
The car and the earlier DNA find would eventually lead them right to Kohberger's disgusting doorstep. 2 weeks earlier, the dead-eyed Dexter wannabe left Washington State on a cross-country trip with his father to his family's Pennsylvania home for Christmas. On December 15th, 2 days after they departed the Northwest, they were pulled over in Indiana for tailgating. Not once, but twice, and by two different agencies less than 10 minutes apart. Police body cam recorded both traffic stops. Many amateurs and experts alike assumed this couldn't have been a coincidence, but the FBI have said the pair was not under surveillance during the trip. Kohberger and his father arrived in Albrightsville on December 16th. The investigation would move with alacrity over the next 2 weeks, and his time was now running short. First, the results came back from the lab, and investigators had found a branch of his family tree. Next, on December 23rd, a search warrant was obtained for his phone records, and they revealed an amateur mistake. Although Bryan usually kept his phone powered on, like normal people, the device was curiously powered off from 2:47 a.m. to 4:48 a.m. You don't need the affidavit to tell you that would be consistent with Kohberger attempting to conceal his location during the quadruple homicide. As if that weren't damning enough on its own, the records indicate he returned to the King Road area just after 9 a.m., about 5 hours after the slaughter. But wait, there's more. Dating back to August of 2022, his phone pinged in the area at least a dozen times before the murders. All of the apparent visits were late at night or early in the morning. It appeared creepy Kohberger was casing his kills. As most true crime enthusiasts know, that little battery-powered rectangle in your pocket will betray you every time, and now it was only a matter of time. On December 25th, 4 families would face their first Christmas without their loved ones. Meanwhile, Bryan Kohberger celebrated what may be his last as a free man. As if that weren't unfair enough, the heartbroken relatives began to think the killer may never be caught. Almost 6 weeks post-homicide, there was no official word from police, but they didn't know just how close investigators had gotten to finding their prime suspect. 2 days after Christmas, police infiltrated the Kohberger's family's gated community and collected trash put out by a member of the household. DNA evidence gleaned from the garbage conclusively matched the father of the person who left his traces behind on the sheath left at the crime scene. The morning of December 30th, 2022, sometime after 4 a.m., signed arrest warrant in hand and a single-engine police plane keeping watch from above, officers surrounded the Kohberger home. Although it could never compare to the terror he allegedly forced upon the Idaho 4, Bryan was about to get a taste of a frightening home invasion. The SWAT team took no chances as doors busted from their hinges and windows exploded in cascades of tiny shards. In the engineered chaos and confusion, cops had the upper hand and took Bryan into custody without incident. The thing of Moscow's nightmares, they say, was now in chains. At the time of this recording, new information is being revealed about his history on social media. Besides the self-diagnosis we mentioned earlier, it is believed he repeatedly messaged one of the victims on Instagram. The many communications were similar in nature, something to the effect of, "Hi, how are you?" All 4 victims had a prominent social media presence and lived their lives on Instagram display. Despite Bryan's attempt to slide into their DMs, however, none of the messages were ever returned and might not have ever been seen. We have a feeling there are more twists and turns in this case we don't know about. As more information is revealed, we will keep you updated. If this episode gets 200 thumbs up or more, we will do another episode and delve deeper into the mind of Bryan Kohberger. He's presumed innocent until proven guilty. We'll leave it there for now, so let us know in the comments what your thoughts are about this case. One day we hope there will be justice for Kaylee, Maddie, Xana, and Ethan. Until next time, be well, stay safe, and let the darkness come alive.